This is how it be. So obviously, we've seen a little bit of the cockiness, the confidence come out of these players. But at the end of the day, you can really tell when we kind of sit them down and just ask them, like, hey, what do you think? Like, there is so much respect for each other in the community. And you can just see just so many different testimonies. Everyone's just thinking the same thing. Like Acorn said, if I thrive, they thrive, right? And that's so awesome to see.
Yeah, I mean, tons of respect, and it's definitely well-deserved. I mean, we got the best players from all around the world. None of these teams are going to be easy pushovers by any means.
I mean, I agree with you guys, and I think that's...
Oh, God. Here we go.
But I'm also a bit tired of these guys doing this whole humble gimmick. What's all this? Because I know if you ask them in private, they're telling you, I don't care about that. That's what I want, you know what I'm saying? But it's good to see, though, because I think you see a lot of respect, I think, especially within the regions, right? Because when you play against certain people so consistently over the years, you do just build that respect. Interregionally, things can get spicy sometimes.
Sure. Now, speaking of spicy, let's take a look here at mid-match objectives. So we've kind of tossed around a few words, right? Things like forecast. What about Rift Island, right? We wanted to kind of break down how these objectives have really impacted the Global Championship.
Yeah, so for anybody that does not know, Forecast Tower's objectives that spawn around the map, you can instantly tell when you hop on that battle bus or when you're flying over it, if it has spawned or if it has not. And you're going to see that tower there. And it's a big thing to fight for because basically what allows these teams to see is one zone further than everybody else. So they'll have an indication of where they can actually rotate to, and it leads to a big advantage in terms of position.
Yeah, I think it's very clear from looking at how these games are played out that the mid-game objectives and how people play for them are having a big impact in how well people are doing, right? Of course, the forecast tower in particular is just such a crucial one, right? Being able to see into the future where people need to be positioned with zones is crucial. But even the loot that you can get from the bunkers, right? The weapon bunkers, even the island, right? We talked about it a bit yesterday, the positional advantages you get playing from the island, being able to pad off of it or maybe use one of the rifts underneath it to get into some of the deeper zones. Like, there's so many advantages to be gained from these mid-game objectives.
And there's just something really small that we kind of always talk about as those weapon benches, upgrade benches. And I was kind of curious. We kind of talk about, like players can get those benches. What does that mean, though? So we take a gun, we can kind of customize it. In what ways would we really kind of like tamper with that weapon to really fit our playstyle?
I think easily the one that every single competitive player is going to instantly highlight is the ability to add, remove, change the scope to the one that you definitely prefer, right? We've been talking about Storm Surge pretty much exclusively throughout every single competition ever since it was ever implemented, right? It's very, very important. And having a scope that you prefer or one that you think is the best is always a big advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, being able to sort of have that consistently. Again, the team that's in first place have had all of those things consistently, right? When I talked earlier about talking to Queasy about what do you have to do to work on to improve for tomorrow and have a chance of winning, he said, yeah, I can do this, that, or the other. But how am I supposed to beat a guy that gets the forecast tower, a bunker, can upgrade his weapons, and he's playing for Island sometimes? What am I supposed to do about that guy, right? It really is such an advantage that Pure and Poyo have, and other players around the map are taking advantage of as well.
Yeah, that's right. Really being able to cater those weapons to the player playstyle, and some of that even revealed itself in Storm Surge, right? I was kind of curious to kind of discuss how Storm Surge kind of was impacting these players.
Yeah, exactly. So, obviously, the top 5 teams throughout the competition, they've been doing very, very well throughout the day. We were kind of trying to, make some sort of a relation to how much damage they have actually taken from Storm Surge. Are they really getting affected by it, or are they kind of just bypassing it? Are they doing so well? And as you can see, 2 teams in the top 5 right now, Peterbot and Poyo, Vico and Flixie, have not taken any damage from Storm Surge whatsoever. And then the rest of the teams in that top 5, 4 ticks, and 6 ticks, definitely not a lot.
Yeah, not much at all. I mean, if you're Coach Raz, he's looking at his 2 teams, Vico, Flixie, Peter, Poyo, going, those Storm Surge ticks, I've done my job. I have done my job. That's what he'll be thinking
just
there.
Just an insane stat.
Right.
Crazy.
Yeah. Both of these teams, not that means like you got your Surge locked down. And that's why when we talk about like teams and being able to carry on what they did in day 1 into day 2, you look at a team like that and go, if they're not struggling with Surge at all, and they're going to keep getting their mid-game objectives and whatnot, like, they're going to keep doing well. Absolutely.
Yeah, and we've seen teams all the time struggle with Surge, right? Because remember, you're trying to get above a number. The moment you drop below, you're starting to get hit for 25. I mean, how do we are there quick ways to kind of deal with this? Is it a Monarch pistol, right? Is it a shotgun? Is it just, let's find a box, let's go for the fight? What do you think?
I mean, it's going to be preparation. As soon as you kind of fall behind on Storm Surge, the rest of the game is pretty much over. Like, we see teams always try to come back, right? Try to regather their resources and everything after that, but it's just a constant battle because once you're below, you're pretty much below for the rest of the game.
Absolutely. I mean, one thing I really wanted to look at, right, was just where the zones. I think we always talk about how zones fold and where the zones are when it comes to any major Fortnite tournament. And these are the positions of all the 6 zones we saw throughout these games. This is 6 zone in particular as well, which is really interesting because I think when you look at this season and the meta right now, Vivid, a lot of the players, when you talk to them, have been struggling with 6 zone rotations. It's one of the most difficult zones to navigate through. But when you actually look at the zones and you look at where all the top 5 teams have been landing, even though they're all over, you know, they're not having problems at all, right? You can see it's less about where you're landing and more about taking advantage of the zones you get when you can. All these teams landing in different corners, but yet still consistently doing well in these games.
Yeah, definitely. I wanted to give a big shout out to Clicks and Veno right now. I saw that Veno made a little bit of a social post I was mentioning, like, man, I really wish we could pull some zones, right? So that's kind of affecting him when it comes to that. But the biggest stat that kind of stuck out to me in particular with Clicks and Veno is that they actually led duos in damage dealt in the first 3 zones, right? So that's an amazing stat right there. They're starting the early game very, very cleanly, which is actually impressive because as we know, just 2-3 days ago, they found out they were actually going to be contested. The fact that their early game is still going well in terms of damage dealt is super impressive. But maybe that's kind of the point where, you know, bunkers start to get claimed, those other positions, you know, right? Rift Island, the weapons of like Peterbot, all of these attachments that get added onto weapons, then they start coming to play. And maybe that's where they're kind of falling behind.
Absolutely. I think from talking to Veno, I think that comes from their individual brilliance rather than having a consistent game plan, right? I think they are still trying to figure things out in terms of splitting that POI with Resigns and Damo from OCE. Like, how do we get our loot, get out, and get enough damage and be able to play through these games out? I think they're still figuring that out, but the fact that they're still so high on damage just shows how great they are individually as players.
In that situation, though, do we just say, like, day 2, 1.5's, we're just going to fight you? Like, what do we have to lose, right? What do we have to lose?
So do you know what the problem with that is, Zeke, unfortunately? As soon as they start fighting, right, Clicks gets knocked in the feed, or Veno gets knocked in the feed, Peterbot and Poyo
coming
flying over quickly, right? And so you're in a tough spot there where even if it isn't Peterbot and Poyo, right, Giras and Chari, who land nearby the Polish duo, they see those guys fighting. Again, they're going to be on that hill nearby thinking we can get some free damage here.
Man, crazy stuff, crazy stuff. I want to talk more, but I know what you guys want. It is to meet these players. So, Dickie's Arena, give a big warm welcome to the first 10 duos.
It's Alex and Worthy. Looking to even the off-spot score. These guys are ready to start.
Miguel, comment ça va?
Let's give it up for Andalex and Sainto. The French pride are going to have to dig in deep today. And let's hope that they find that last-minute strength to succeed, just as they did at Major number 2.
Everybody make some noise for Baka and Pars. 1 match out of 6, we saw their potential, and today's a second chance for Baka and Pars to find success on the global stage.
Here's Casper and Prism. They are here, especially after heating up in game number 6. The real question is, can they keep up what they started?
Walking in now, you got Job and Michael. It's been a tough day 1. What have they learned, and how have they evolved?
Hold on, it's CCB and Nathan. We know they're known for their consistency, but who would have called them being just inside the top 10 after day number 1? Now, let's see what they can do.
One more time, it's going to be the double T's, Trashy and Threats. They knew it wouldn't be easy, but the top 10, it's so within their reach.
Coming in hot is Stroll and Sky, the Danish duo that have had their biggest task in front of them right now after closing day 1 right inside of the middle of the pack.
pick up the pace. They've got 6 more games to make it happen. Let's get after it, Kadu and Sion.
It's none other than Booga and Aviv. 2 out of their 6 performances were stellar. And if they can find that groove again, we can definitely see them up at the top.
I think that's probably my second favorite part of the show is bringing out the players. The first will be when we lift the trophy. But to just hear the crowd lose and to see kind of the players in that moment really take in, man, there's a crowd. We're here at LAN. Let's go. A duo that didn't budge an inch. Baka and Pars. So locked in right now. It looks like they've got their eyes on the prize.
Very consistent duo out of NA. I think a lot of people had high hopes for this duo, even including them into the top 10, just because of how consistent they are. Often, it's like, oh, they're the NA Cammy and City. They just play so passive, always playing for the placement. But right now, 11 kind of disappointed in the sense that they are in 23rd.
Absolutely. I think part of why maybe things have gone a bit awry for them so far is, as we've seen with a lot of teams, I think a lot of the mid-game strategies people had prepared, the lobby just looks so different, I think, to what people expected, right? We've seen that effect with a couple other teams as well. Breezy talked about when we interviewed him earlier, right? Like, there was a lot of freestyling that had to be done. Hopefully, these guys have been able to use that experience from day one and cook up something a lot more consistent today.
That's right. And you guys heard them. I mean, the moment we talk about Booga in any capacity, crowd goes absolutely crazy. Shout outs to him paired up with Aviv. And of course, shout outs to JP, very special guest there who got to walk out with them. Currently sitting in 24th place. But if Booga's taught me anything, it's you can't count Booga out. He can make anything happen. And now we just said, Booga, I don't know, what about a 1.5 times multiplier? Can you work with that?
I think Booga and Aviv can work with that for sure, right? I mean, like you mentioned, it's really, really hard to count Booga out. Honestly, he has survived in Fortnite competitive for so long because of how smart he is, because of how much experience he has. Well, now I gotta say, Levin, it's time to put that experience, that knowledge to test. Day 2, can the comeback happen?
Yeah, and there's so many people here that love him and are rooting for him, and he's got to do it for them.
That's right. Do it for the people. That's what we want to see. But for the people, we will now bring out the next 10 duos.
Epic Whale and Muzz know what it takes to win, and today it is time for an all-star performance. Show us what you got.
Let's give it up for Jack and Teeny. After winning Game 1, they've already proven that they are championship caliber. However, it was just the start of their journey.
Rise and Yuma started day 1 off strong, but can they hone in on the consistency? Because this is where it matters most.
Ping and Watts, ladies and gentlemen, they began surging up the rankings here in day number 1. And if anything, the rest of the competition has to continue to go that way for them.
It's been a lot of growing pains for Danath and Tinka, but you can't count Oceana out. It's a new day, and it can always be a fresh start.
It's none other than Quatsi and Gold. Eddie and Brazil are going to have to dig deep today to make the community proud. This duo has shown that they can win fights, but now they need the placements.
Si se puede, Clone and Crapsu. Their next move is hopefully going way up on that leaderboard.
It's double trouble. We have Reet and Ritual. Closing the day out in 25th was tough, but now with the 1.5x multiplier, can Reet and Ritual find the strength to pop off?
A massive welcome back to Reason and Mateo. Can they crack into the top 10 for day number 2?
Batman, Booga, and Rapid are in the building. Everyone is wondering, how is this team going to adjust? And can they actually prove that they're one of the best on NA?
Never gets old. Never gets old. Love to have these players walk in and just kind of, again, feel that energy from the crowd, feel that electricity. So for you guys in the arena, every time these duos come out, make some noise. Let's take a moment here to highlight some NA West teams. Kelly, well, sorry about that. Reet and Ritual, very excited to see this duo. And again, I'm just going to continue to frame everything through that same exact lens, 1.5 times multiplier.
And take a look at one of those teams, there's like 4 other arrows just surrounding the area. So I think it's honestly just brought way too much attention to that area of the map. Maybe they'll have to switch it up today.
I mean, I think we were seeing that, right? Where teams are struggling for damage, where are they going to naturally rotate to? They know there's going to be people at the bunkers. Let's go there. It was funny because it was one of those games where we went there. I'm expecting to see Mapoli and Koyota fighting Reet and Ritual. It was like Zach and Shiram. These guys must be thinking, do the Asian players just hate us? Like, why are they all coming to our bunker? Oh my goodness. But look, if you expect anyone to be able to deal with that pressure, especially when it comes to fighting, you think Reet and Ritual will do it.
Absolutely. And once again, from one Booga to the other, Batman Booga, Rapid, these guys once again, as long as absolutely, once again, from one Booga to the other, Batman Booga, Rapid, these guys once again, as long as absolutely, once again. To bring in the next 10 duos.
Nomad of the Odds, Swizzy and Yapko are ready to run it back, but they'll need more victory royales if they want to get the job done.
The pride of the Middle East adapter FKS. Game 1 was the round that determined the pace for this team, but then they lost the steam. Can the Middle Eastern pride make a big comeback today?
Hello again to Trulex and Chicho. The foundation is there, but they've got to build up if they want to reach a global championship.
Forward, give it up for K Shutta and KT. If this team can make it past the mid-game, we expect huge things. However, we all know it won't be easy.
They've had a day to work on their chemistry, but regardless of the outcome, Chiefs and Chris, you've got the hearts of champions.
Let's put your hands together for Huddy and Kovacs. This team was contested on day number 1, and after a near-perfect day, they came in sweeping through the competition.
Dukes and Sphinx found their footing in day number 1, and maintaining their consistency will be a big step in the right direction.
All the way from Japan, it's Bobby and Larpax. They have their work cut out for them here today. Will some of Asia's best be able to step up to the challenge?
After taking the night to review, Aspect and Kazi have hopefully developed their strategy to turn the tides back in their favor.
It's your boys,
Tira Vigues, tira.
They had a spectacular day 1 performance placing in the race for a trophy finish. But let's see if they can close out strong now.
Cold is what Let's go, and fans are still cheering for A-Court and Cold. I wanted to take an opportunity here.
Regarde les FNCS en live, les gars,
top
en
5
live.
damage out of yesterday's performance. We got to look at Trulex and Chicho. Chicho on
C'est
that
normalement
top
gros
5
live de
as the
prévu.
most damage done. This is duo we cannot count out.
I mean, we called it out yesterday, right? Because we were watching them M games and we tuned into them and they had like more than 5 LMs, which, if you know anything
N'hésitez
about
pas à
them as
mettre
a
un
duo,
message dans
that's
le
not
chat,
typically what you expect. These guys were popping off. They're
histoire de
dealing
se faire
damage.
coucou les
Their
gars.
game plan is, iron-clad, right? It cannot be throttled in any way, right? And so I expect to see these guys continue their dominance.
Kind of known for doing those giant towers that put them above the rest of the lobby. An interesting stat there to kind of point out is that they're actually the only duo in the top 5 with 0 time spent on the higher ground as it pertains to the end game, right? So in that middle game, they're all the way up there. Come down to the end game, they're going for the low ground.
Wow, crazy stuff. And of course, don't worry, crowd. We'll talk about
N'hésitez pas à
Acorn and
mettre un
Cold,
message
of
dans le
course.
chat, les gars.
Fan
Un
favorites here
message
without
dans
a
le
doubt. And
chat.
again, you can just tell in their face they are
coûte
so
rien.
locked in. They know what needs to be done. Now they just have to pull it off.
I need to see more people in the crowd hitting the cold
The cold.
celebration. I need more of the cold celebration. I mean, look, we know what these two can do. They've contested us format and Alex and Sato. It went pretty well for them. I mean, they've historically done well when contested as well in the past. So I just expect them to do more of the same. Acorn talked about, again, pushing the bucket a bit, right? Going even harder today and making use of the 1.5x multiplier. I'm super excited to see what they do.
Such a consistent team. Cold is used to putting up big elimination games. Is there anything that I had in terms of requests? Such a consistent team.
Par contre, il a terminé avec des...
Anything that I had.
They're starting the day off in second place, but Queasy and Thomas HD have only one goal in mind, and that is to break the curse.
Ouais, les gars.
Put your hands together for Toyota and Foley. This Asian powerhouse has their work cut out for them today, as they have proven to be the best team on Asia for day number 1.
Experience gained is never a loss. Let's see what Shadow and Virgo have in store and what they've learned since day number 1.
Dears and sorry, everyone, after the 18th place finish, we'll just have to see what this team can do as they have a bit of a way to go here in day number 2.
We know that they're entering from the final hour, but Visuals and Braids may still have some tricks up their sleeve here in day 2.
Agers and Rise, after being surprise contested, this duo still managed to find their stride and close out with an impressive 11th place finish. What can they do next?
We know they've been hitting the bonds and looking to
Les gars,
review, but
n'hésitez pas à
now
parler
it's
dans le
time.
chat.
Janice and Pixie, they're ready for the fresh
On va
start,
mettre un
but
petit
can
salut.
they break through?
Que je sache que vous êtes là. Faites pas gaffe, je ne parle pas des autres.
We need to come together for this duo because they're going to need your energy if they want to make a top finish.
They're taking every opportunity, but Damo and Resigns are here to show that they can hold their own on the global stage.
It's Peter Von, it's Boyo, make some noise, Fort Worth. There's nothing much to say for these kings of NA other than they might just prove to the world that they're the strongest team here.
La wall shit.
I
dans
feel
moins de
like
5
the
minutes,
Diggs
ça
Arena
commence.
was not making nearly enough noise there
5
for Peter
minutes,
Bottom
les gars.
Pollo. I'm a
5
little bit
petites
disappointed by you, crowd. Just like a little bit. They're still waking up. It's fine. It's fine. You're still with
They'll get
Peter
there.
Bottom Pollo? They'll get there. They'll get there. Maybe the last 10. Maybe the last 10. Man, Thomas, HD, and Queasy, though. We kind of talked about them at the start of the show. I want to talk more about them with them now being super locked in.
Look how locked in. Look how locked in they look. Look at Queasy. You know, there's a 4-letter word to describe what that is, you know? A-U-R-A. Aura. Straight aura right there. Look, He said all that needs to be said about what they need to do today. I want to see them deliver, man. Queasy's come close in the past. Thomas has come very close many a times. I want to see them get the job done today.
Yeah, Levin, you mentioned it, right? They did mention what they need to do today, and I think the quote went a little something like, what? Get height?
Don't die.
You guys are tripping me out here. All right, crowd, let's hear it for Peter by
Attends,
Boya.
en live.
There it is. The duo in first place, looking to hold on to that lead, but can they do it? This is a new day. Anything can happen. And again, 1.5 times.
A lot of pressure. I would say a lot of pressure has to be on the shoulders of both of these players right now. Such a big lead. Game in number 7, I think, is going to be telling. Are they going to use it as kind of like a reset game? Are they actually feeling nervous at all? I've got no idea. I would be nervous.
I don't think they're feeling any nerves.
Okay.
I'll be honest.
Oh, ça a 242 abonnés.
Got no idea. I would be nervous.
I don't think they're feeling any nerves.
Okay.
I'll be honest.
Oh, ça a 242 abonnés.
Got no idea. I would be nervous.
I don't think they're feeling any.
242 abonnés.
Got no idea. I would be nervous.
Any nerves.
Okay.
Everybody give it up because Vico and Blixie are back again. They had good performance in day 1, but now it's time to be great.
Here's the Asian powerhouse of Zaku and Shalom. The global stage pressure is truly showing that anything can happen. Will they be able to make a comeback today?
Bryce and Bolt are back. Lucky number 7 to close out day number 1, but they're still aiming for the top.
They're back. Malibu and Mustache, after being contested, they have their work cut out for them off the drop. They'll just have to see and wait what they can do.
Another day, another opportunity for Cal and Hamad. Let's see how they adapt and overcome.
Let's welcome Paper and Victor V. The fans know him, the community loves him, but they need to step it up if they want to have a trophy finish here today.
Still here, ready to make Brazil proud. King and Phaser. They'll have to fight their way back into the conversation, but they're ready.
You know who this is. It's Kanata and Cooper, and they're right in the middle of the race. We'll need the champ to finish it and find a second win if he wants to succeed today.
It's been a rocky start here for Cammy and Seti, but the Polish powerhouse are due for a comeback. Can they make it happen?
Let's give it up for Clix and Vino! Meditation, preparation, resilience is what this team stands for. The fans are rooting for you, but how far can you push it now?
That is the kind of audience reaction I want, and that is what I hope we continue to just do that for the rest of the day. Shout outs there to Clicks and Vet at the very end. Hanging out with Max from Make-A-Wish. We got to hang out with JP and Max. Excited and thankful that they could hang out with us. Now, we got to start things off. We saw Sammy. I always
Sammy.
did it.
He did it.
I did it to myself.
Oh, man.
Seti, Cammy. I'm sorry, I just mix up letters in my head. Seti and Cammy, very excited. Much kind of like all these other dudes we talk about day 2 team, right? We can never count these guys out invitational winners. And now, what are they looking to do?
They were the team that I felt probably had the biggest effect of what I talked about yesterday with Chapintini switching over to the Nitrodrome. Oh my goodness, it had such a big ripple effect on Cammy and Seti. When you look at how they were playing before, they were in a surge base, they had another surge base in Canada Cooper near them, they had Ryzen Ages near them, but Chapintini landing on Nitrodrome sort of warded those teams off, so all of a sudden Cammy and Seti, they're going, hello? Like, where is everybody, right? And nobody's here anymore. And had a big effect on how they played in the mid-game. So hopefully they've cooked something up overnight.
Yeah, we had a lot of those zones kind of pulling north as well, right? So a lot of those southern teams actually like to sit in the storm. And with Chapentini there, right, them being unpredictable in terms of being there kind of messes up that rotations for a lot of the teams that are to the south.
Difficult situation, to say the least. Finally, Clicks and Veno kind of rounding out our duos here once again. They've been hot and cold, right? And they've kind of been put into these situations where they've been in these shambles situations. However, they've had time to go back to the drawing board. What do we expect in day 2?
The drawing board, I'm happy that you kind of brought that up, Zeke, because if there was anybody that was hitting the VODs, hitting the replays, looking for something to exploit, it's the guy right there on your screen. Veno was looking for something. Levin, did he find it?
I mean, I hope he did. I mean, you guys are going to have to show him some more love. Can we make some more noise for Veno? There we go. Look, these two, it's been a tough sort of tournament for them because coming in, they were the favourites for a lot of people, and understandably, things look so clear-cut for them. The switch up and being contested makes things awkward, and so hopefully now they've sort of got more of an idea of how they need to play with the loot they have and the timings that they have coming out of that spot, but I can't imagine it'll be easy even today.
Yeah, no, I mean, crowd, you guys absolutely need to be cheering on Clicks and Veno. You can see it on Veno's face. He's locked in. He's here on a mission, and now they just have to execute their plan. We're getting closer and closer to kicking off day number 2. As we kind of prepare ourselves, is there maybe something you guys are hoping to see here in game number 1? Is it some crazy strategy? Is it, let's just all everybody go 5 beat about Pollo, try and shut him down, let's have a normal game for once? What is it?
Man, what do I want to see throughout these 6 games in general? I just want to see some good Fortnite, right? There were moments yesterday. I think one of the biggest ones that everybody's kind of been pointing out is the Swizzy 1v2. Heck it, let's have 1v2 in every single one of the games today, right? Keep those end games spicy.
I mean, me personally, I ain't praying on their downfall or nothing, right?
Okay.
But it would be nice for Peter Boy and Pollo to have a slower start so we could have more of a competition. I'd like to see it be close by game 12.
Okay, all right. I think that's fair. I'll just rewrite the script super quickly before we do that. But Fortnite fam, it is that time. Game number 7 is prepared for us. So let's send it on up to Monster D-Face and the best taco to take us in.
Yeah, listen, I'm with you. The script, we got to go ahead and adjust that bad boy for day 2, of course. There's 6 more games here.
Yeah, and exactly. And I mean, I know it's really easy to get caught up in that point disparity that Peter Bot and Pollo have established. But again, the 1.5 times multiplier makes anything possible. We've already heard a couple of pretty popular duos. Some strong teams say that they're ready to challenge here in match 7.
Match number 7 is here. Day 2 of the Global Championship has arrived, and this is what it is all about. Who will have the start of the career, really start of their day, go the way that they expected to, as Queasy and Thomas are going to be the first to touch down. We already had the chance to interview this team as well, right? Start to get a feel for what's in store for them. And you can tell there's other players kind of in the vicinity. However, they have the drop fully to themselves. But it's not the same for teams like Malabuka here.
Exactly. Restored Reels has definitely been a pretty popular hot contest here between Malabuka, Merstash, and the Power Boys from Oceana, Alex, and Worthy. Worthy, though, managing to find a shield potion off rip, could definitely bode fairly well. And surprisingly calm start for both of these teams. They've got enough distance between them that they'll both have an opportunity here to loot things out and see how that next engagement really goes.
Much different than what we saw in days previous. Meanwhile, Peterbot and Boyo also seems like there's a little bit of a different strategy going down here. Yesterday, Peterbot and Boyo would have already probably had 2 eliminations come the drop here. However, they are still at 0, but jumping on over to that conversation of Malabuka and Merstash, game 1 jitters, more like game 7. However, things are off to a fast start for Power Alex and Power Worthy. They get the tags and they find more onto Malabuka. Already, it's looking excellent for the Team Power Boys.
Alex trying to do what he can, trying to scramble up behind Malabuka. Malabuka managed to throw down a couple of metal walls just for the nick of time.
Nice.
But he's only delaying the inevitable. Oshi strikes first here in day 2. Alex and Worthy fully in control now of restored reels.
Australia continuing to step up now. That's exactly what we want to see here. But for Kovacs and Huddy, the most surprising, I think, of all the duels that appeared inside of the top 10, given that they had a perfect day 1 minus a single early game elimination. We'll catch back up with them as Shota and Keiki have to make their region proud. All of the Brazilian fans are rooting for any of their teams to step up here. Can they win this first fight?
All Cheeks and Chris are trying to do is just make sure they have to fight back, and Shota eats more damage than what he was bargaining for. Chris now next to Cheeks, they're going to find that first knock. Shota is down, and unfortunately for them, Keiki goes with him.
Very, very tough angle to peek there, given he ran out of real estate. But look at this, Swizzy and Yapko try to make a move out of town, and Yuma and Rise, top 10, the best performing team out of Asia from day 1, is here, ready to meet them in here at match number 7.
Something the analyst desk was asking for was a potential Batman, Booga, and Rapid appearance to maybe try and challenge for this bunker that Swizzy, Yapko, already seemingly trying to create space around. They've got plenty of boxes surrounding them. Rise and Yuma actually going to opt to disengage for the time being, but curious to see if maybe we get a little bit more action located at that Karen's Crossing bunker.
Yeah, I mean, and we've heard the insight, right? A lot of these teams are putting tons of respect on the Asian duos, especially Yuma Rise, Yoda, and Mapoli. Very, very, very strong duos coming out of Asia right now, and they have demanded and earned their respect. But jumping back into things here at the beachhead, Cold and Acorn are coming in, right? They obviously have their heads set straight, right? They had a great performance day 1. Finding their stride here is going to be super important, given that, I mean, there are those external pressures, right? Teams playing off the cuff, teams, of course, hitting the reveals.
But today is a real opportunity to see for some of those teams where the off-spawn contest didn't necessarily pan out in their favor, how have they actually chosen to adjust, and will it even work out for them, or will they choose to fall back to that familiarity of once before that took place in day 1? Kovacs, though, Huddy, still trying to ensure that they can try and maintain their position at the top of the leaderboard, and they're going to have to fight their way through Scroll and Sky, just getting held here on the edge of Rebel's Roost.
Yeah, all things considered right now, Scroll and Sky were winning this engagement, given that Kovacs does not have heals to work with, but Vino and Clicks in a very important fight, a quick rotate, a swift one to find Crisp and Cheeks here, and they shut them down, and they're off to a very hot start.
It's almost surprising to see Benno and Clicks look for a new method of approach. The real question that remains now is Cheeks, Crisp, how are they going to manage to actually deal with this sort of early pressure? Because, again, the small surprises, the little bits of bamboozlement, that's all it takes in a split second for everything to go south.
Scroll and Sky moving back to the Rebels' Roost after pushing out Huddy and Kovacs there. So it does seem like both teams are going to be content with the exchanges between their sides, but jumping over to Bolts and Bryce, a very clear forecast tower play in motion right now.
Look, I know Vico and Flixie like to think that this is their forecast hour, but these exchanges right now from the peaks of these surge bases are leading me to believe that Bolts, Bryce, they might just get this one all to themselves. Their drop at Dumpenhausen just gives them so much more of an advantage for tracking quicker towards this forecast tower, getting that setup online. Preview though of what Chapentini have been dealing with, and it's actually Oshi, but Worthy unfortunately not going to be able to stand tall this time.
Very tough team to go against. Chapentini, who won game number 1, clearly they have a stride about them that has been shown here this weekend. Match 7 now, starting off in almost similar fashion. It seems like while everyone's trying to get their bearings, they start a bit ahead, but keeping that momentum is going to be one of question here today. This European duo, and overall still within the top 20 is impressive to say the least. 1.5x multiplier, right? Every elim means a lot more. Placement points are going to weigh even heavier as things start to add up. But let's jump in with Sphinx and Dukes here, who are trading attacks, it seems like, trying to farm some kind of damage here in the early game across what might be Acorn and Cold.
Right now, Spinks and Dukes, they're just taking full advantage of applying a little bit of pressure onto the teams at Redline Rig. Keep in mind, if they do get a successful shield crack, they could always look to just try and turbo aggress. They've got that flaming boost tube right next to them, and Spinks just seems to be prioritizing exclusively the surge tag damage threshold control.
How impressive of Swizzy and Yapko to survive the drop. Trashy threats, food about Boyle. A lot of action down at the raft, so it is, of course, in their best interest to get loot and hit the road. Quite honestly, you don't want to stick around there given what can be in store. Kazian Aspect clearly didn't want any more of that action as well, as they've moved somewhat north here to try to make the best of their strategy. But look at what happened. It's kind of causing this very congested area here. Ultimately, when the Storm Surge turns on, most of these teams that have created these new adjustments will end up clashing in much different circumstances.
And well, that's the thing, because teams can review, teams can try to make those adjustments and implement new strategies, but how much of it is actually going to be structured around what you were engaging with in day one, as opposed to the other adjustments that similar teams, similar mindsets, everybody is looking to try and change things up here, at least if day one wasn't working out in their favor.
Yeah, Baka Pars, we saw finding some knocks there in the feed on teams nearby, but couldn't confirm their elimination, so their damage must be ranking up nicely. Meanwhile, Vico and Flixie have a bit of a position here over the opponents. Talk about fights for the forecast tower. The card is in the hands of Bryce and Bolt, whom are just outside of it, so if they want to activate it, they will have to fight their way through this duo.
At the same time, though, Clone and Kramzu might be enough of a distraction factor. Bolt and Bryce are going to look to retreat just a little bit further east from where the forecast tower is currently at, but Vico and Flixie know that they've got the prime real estate currently. They don't want to allow for Bryce and Bolt to get a complete freebie for this forecast tower, but they might not have a choice, and even further still in the horizon, Thomas HD, Queasy, slight surge base on a hill just outside of Reckless Railways, but more importantly still, Thomas HD, he was on fire all day yesterday, especially with that Monarch pistol.
And we saw moments where he was clutching up, perfectly timed there, back-to-back tags. This is the highlight you were just talking about, Taco. I mean, Thomas HD is a sniper with anything in his hands that does big damage.
If it's got a scope, then Thomas HD is going to be an absolute fiend with that weapon. But Booga, Aviv, another one of our team's big fan favorites here, of course, but also just knowing that they need to try and develop some form of a new strategy. Even bumped into Aviv in the elevator earlier on today here at DF and asked them, hey, we looking at the comeback? And he's like, well, I hope so. And it could start here. They've already got one elimination onto Danat. It's just Tinka trying to keep his duo's hopes alive, but Booga and Aviv, they struggled a decent bit with their surge damage, so this could be a big opportunity if they're able to pinpoint where Tinka is at. And they don't look like they want to let him go.
I'm looking at the map, though. There's a team moving in very fast here from the south now, so other opinions are going to be thrown into the conversation here. It's Asia's Job and Michael, who have now started sliding their way towards the Dunes courtyard. So anything really can happen. It'd be wise for Booga and Aviv to possibly make a move now, but of course, it's day two. Strategies are being put to the test.
But Job and Michael need to be careful with the way that they're crouch walking around that rooftop. Doom's courtyard sitting at a slightly lower elevation than some of the POIs surrounding it. And there's a high possibility a team in a surge base happens to be looking around, see some freebie opened up shots. Players not protected from behind because they're too fixated on trying to get this surprise opportunity onto Aviv and Booga.
There's Koyota, Nipoli, Kovacs, and Huddy. A lot of teams looking to set up an ambush at the moment. Gotta love this strategy here. We haven't seen too many big plays coming out the bush just yet, but doesn't mean even a top-tier professional won't get caught off guard, given that we've seen anything happen here on the desk. But there's just no foot traffic here, given that the zone is pretty far north, it seems, northeast-ish at the moment.
Problem, though, for Kovacs and Huddy, since they were forced out of Rebels Roost, they didn't actually have that time, that opportunity to properly farm out some of those much-needed hard materials. Their mat count looking a little bit grim, given the current circumstances. It's going to be hard to try and control your own mid-game. That material's backing up as Ed Persa tracking down solo in Nathan, but no backup this time in sight for Nathan.
First on the move right now. Ed pressing hot on the walls here. Nathan trying to escape. It's not looking good for Nathan or CZB. Into the box. Persa goes with Ed. Well played for them. And the Brazilian commentators are popping off on the desk right now for the Brazilian region. Love to see that for Ed and Persa here.
A lot of these players also looking for those confidence, the momentum swings that could make all the difference for these next few matches. Clear up day number 2 here. Chicho. Just strong connections off of that Monarch pistol. Meanwhile, Vico, Flixie find themselves a little bit of a pressing situation here onto Clone, but with a team that knows Reckless Railways as expertly as Vico and Flixie, this split approach, they've managed to sandwich Clone in between them, and it looks like Kramzu might also be caught in the thick of it, but I like this pincer maneuver technique coming out of Vico and Flixie.
Yeah, it's working very well, but if this duo of Cramson and Clone decide to collapse on one or the other, it can spell disaster, so we'll have to see what happens here. This is, of course, the Reckless Railways, though. This is their home turf. Armored wall comes down. This is not good for Vico. I was going to say, they've cut off his backup. Flixie, look, has to work all the way around, and now he has to actually back off here, so definite mistakes being made right now. Forced to cap off HP here, given that he'll have to play this one out by himself for a couple of moments. Meanwhile, still a lurking duo nearby in CR's Michael and T1 Job there. Anything can happen, but look at how Vico unfortunately gets caught off and out of position.
There's a lot of trust that's implemented into that split technique, but more importantly still, Clone and Kramzu, they're still having to fight their way out of the Reckless Railways. One elimination might not be enough. Our international regions fully understanding they're going to need more points to make their way up on the leaderboard standings. And Kramzu, Clone, they've still got their eyes on the prize, I believe, but Job and Michael are not making it easy. Instead, they're going to track down Flixie.
Wow.
Catching him from behind. That's a big pickup for Job there, saving his teammate's life.
CR Job, T1 Michael coming in, finding eliminations here. Clearly a new strategy being deployed for this duo here, given that yesterday was such a struggle for this team to get their feet off the ground. And now we're seeing a much slower approach as opposed to taking full-on head-to-head battles, almost lurking between the major drops, trying to find fights that are in action, working a lot better for them now.
But the bigger picture here at DF is that when you've got our third-place team going out this early on into the match, no placement points secured, and that is a massive deal because it gives so much opportunity. It opens the door for everyone else to try and squeeze their way inside of it. Kramzu back against the wall, trying to see if he can work this way out. But it's not going to be enough. Michael with the collapse. Clean elimination. And that's going to be 3 in total for Job and Michael.
We're seeing why this is a team that had their dominating run on the region. Again, the Asian duo coming up, really making adjustments to their strategy. It's one of the best parts about the Day 2 format that we don't get to highlight enough, right? The teams that come in and start to adapt is what makes it so crucial to really pay attention to what is changing around you. But for Peter Boyo, not much has changed, given that they have continued to key their way into the Rift Island. This time, though, met with a lot more resistance. It's about the weakest we've seen them coming into mid-game, and I mean, it makes sense. You have Zagu up top here with Shadom and Vadil and Reason here. Very strong teams, very low on the surge here for Boyo and Peterbot. I mean, everyone might just get what they've been looking for, a potential early exit here.
Oh, that was a little bit of a whiff there out of Pollo. Was probably hoping to fully connect, but Pollo, he finishes what he started, gets reason in the process, but finds himself getting immediately gobbled up by the deal. And now a serious 1-versus-1 situation, but keep in mind, there's so many other teams surrounding Rift Island. Peterbot, he's just hoping that he can get the revive off.
Talk about an incredible save here, but Body Out's not going to make it easy here. Armored walls are coming out. Peterbot is desperate and boxed up right now. Zagu is also just above, putting in a couple of shots here, but things are going to slow down. And just when you thought it was over, they get saved here. Peterbot and Foya are back in.
But at the cost of so many of their armored walls, Peterbot had to fully utilize practically everything he had saved up. And keep in mind, they still need heals. There's no shield, at least as far as Peterbot's loadout is concerned. Possibly Pollo is carrying a couple of small shield potions, but I'd have to guess not, considering that neither of them is bothered to recover. They're just trying to tango once more with Fadil, but he will not budge.
Doing an excellent job here waiting for them. He knows it's still a 2v1, and Peterbot and Pollo are absolutely deadly here. And let's not forget, they have the medallion, right? So they still have very much full awareness of who's around them, but the tags, they need more damage. They've run out of heals here. This is about the best case scenario for every other duo in the lobby if you want to win the globals, which we know very surely they do. Pollo, though, not giving up just yet. Still knows that there's a job to be done here.
At this stage, though, another issue for Peterbot and Pollo is one of their only options remaining to exit Rift Island might just be take the Ascender down. But again, if they go for that launch pad, they might encounter even more resistance from the other teams that are a little bit more established, a little bit more healthy as well. But Pollo, Peterbot, they try to mark it off in the first place. They will break through the build and manage to escape.
Hopefully they don't get targeted while they're flying by. A lot of teams here in the vicinity now. Peterbot going for the dive down. Pollo trying to scout where's the best spot. They're below the surge. They're going to have to land and take a fight. It's all or nothing now. Peterbot tries to go for Dukes and Sphinx. And they go for it, but Peterbot gets knocked. It's all up to Pollo now. Everything lies on him to keep the train going here. He's going to find a lot of tags here, just enough to keep his team in the win now. They try to box up Peterbot. They want to finish his duo. He's not trying to give it away for free. He's actually fighting with all of his heart here, and they're running for him, trying to steal his duo away. And he's going for it, but no. So close. Almost takes down Dukes as well in an incredible exchange, and first place is out. The runway is open.
Respect the meat shield performance there out of Sphinx. He knew that he was already relatively low. He could absorb at least one shot and trust that Dukes would get the job done. But a massive upset here in match 7 as 3 out of our top 5 teams already eliminated. Thomas HD, Queasy, Trulex, Chicho. Now is your chance to surge upwards.
Agers is solo at the moment inside the zone, but we gotta get the update here from Queasy and Thomas HD, who have been working their way up slowly, steadily, looking to manifest this global championships victory right before their eyes here. The tags are great from Thomas. Things are really starting to ramp up now, and we know what they're playing for, and that's that victory. We saw it in the interviews. They just want to take height.
At this stage, if they've had a chance to witness what's been going down inside of that elimination feed, Thomas HD and Queasy exclusively need to focus on their own game, just playing things out as if it's any other match. Pretend like all these other teams in the top 5 are still in the lobby, because that's what's going to give them in the mindset to stay for their best performance.
There's a lot going on right now, given that the zone's starting to develop here. It's not just high ground being held. There's also big names clashing all around us here. Take a look at how Vino jumps in, takes down Paper in the highlight. Possibly then Victor V back-to-back, but it wasn't over yet. He gets met with a crushing defeat to the hands of Quanti and Gone.
The overhead view doing an excellent job at highlighting. There's practically nowhere left to hide. Everybody is stuck on even ground just about. And what I want to see, MDF, is whether or not Queasy and Thomas are going to be able to successfully make their stake on height. Trulex and Chicho box on the low ground directly underneath them. And if these Titans clash, one or the other could potentially fold.
Well, here's the thing. Thomas HD and Queasy are two of the, again, only players left in this lobby that will notably challenge height every single time. Most of the competition that would otherwise do that is not in this lobby. I do anticipate a runaway scenario here. However, Brazil, King and Phaser hopping across. Yeah, not even close enough to challenge them for high ground. So there's very little teams that would actually have the heart to go up unless coming into day 2, they've decided to shift strategy.
And that was a pretty risky jump forward as well from King and Phaser, because the way that Thomas HD and Queasy have been spraying at other teams, you've got the indication that they likely have an assault rifle, so it's a lot more difficult to make those jumps from the high ground off the Flowberry Fizz, heading towards front side of the next zone. But Sphinx, Dukes, we saw them shut down our first place team on the leaderboard already here today. They're hoping to see if they can transition this into a victory royale of their own.
Sphinx and Dukes through Elim's hard eyes on the prize right now as Reese trying to slip his way from the storm line into this safety, but unfortunately is going to fall there in 19th place now. Very well within the top 20 here, as there's a lot of placement points to be earned. This is a 1.5x multiplier for everyone tuning in right now. These games have significantly more weight than yesterday's round. If there's a day you want to perform, it is here and it is now. Queasy and Thomas still working their way. Look at this build. They are willing to commit heavy material, heavy resources to hold high ground.
And what's one of the most impressive aspects of Thomas HD and Queasy's run is that they've been doing all of this without a forecast tower. They are just sheer commitment at this stage. Thomas HD continuing to try and prevent players from getting anywhere near that secondary height even, as Cooper forced to just utilize the medkits, playing from the backside of the storm and zone in general, but only a matter of time before he's spotted out as a solo.
Just a complete shakeup with the teams we're seeing alive right now as well. Bryce and Bolt keeping up the momentum from where they left off in game number 6, carrying it straight into game number 7 now. A near top 10 for Bolts here, but he will have to fight someone on the outside of zone. Trulex and Chicho, meanwhile, just running game here on the mid ground. Now looking to jump down to low. They have enough mats to do so, cutting off their opponents here. There's a lot of reaction coming here, though. You have Asia on one side of the wall, OCE on the other, fully boxed in now. They have to be careful. There's no way out. Trulex and Chicho might have signed themselves straight back to the lobby accidentally now. Oh no, having to heal here. Chicho gets caught out. One false mistake, and it will come back to haunt you here.
But I can't scope Queasy, Thomas HD. They could tell Phaser for a moment. He got a glimpse, but he won't actually get a taste of what the high ground is like. Queasy now going to be the first to drop. He's continuing. He knows he needs a refresh. He wants more material. If he can find an elimination, if he can play the disturbance factor, he can prevent anyone from having the potential to threaten Thomas HD's current position. Thomas HD, in fact, alongside Queasy, just going to continue to try and secure as many eliminations as possible.
We are witnessing greatness right now as Thomas HD and Queasy are putting on a masterclass from the high ground here. Doing a very good job now securing eliminations, starting to rack up. Queasy will have to get those mats there. Has to jump to the tree. He sends Thomas HB down. So I want to start cutting off the teams here. Completely new duo in the conversation as well. It's Zagu and King and Phaser now. That's all that's left in a clean 2v2 here.
But the zone pool, Thomas HD and Queasy, they made it to the top of the hill. Phaser is going to be able to find his way up. Thomas HD instantly puts him down. Queasy with the cleanup as well, and a victory royale finish.
We expect it, and now they're performing from the interview section all the way in to the first match here of the day. What a way to keep up the momentum. And of course, you know what we're going to get next. A word here on the floor, given that we want to hear what's happening.
Would you please give it up your Game 7 winners, Queasy and Thomas HD? Woo! Nice. That is the way to do it. Game 7 on day 2 of Global Championships, Queasy. The high ground was king there again.
What a way to start the competition today.
I mean, take high, don't die. It's that simple.
I love that. It's a man of few words, but you know what? They mean a lot. They pack a punch. Thomas, today as well, we see the likes of family in the audience, all these fans here as well. Fort Worth, make some noise for these players! I want to talk about how pivotal it was as well. You saw in the elimination feed, I think in the 6th zone, we saw Peter Bot and Puyo go down. Did you know then you had to capitalize on that?
I mean, Christians, as said, like you saw it in the kill feed, so yeah. Like, we just played our game. We didn't think about they were in the game, but it doesn't matter for us.
Now that you've seen the 1.5 multiplier making a massive difference today as well, looking at the points, you've really tightened things up at the top. Do you go out the same way again? I mean, obviously high ground being really important there. How did the mid-game change for you guys that time around?
I mean, we will see. I can't tell if we're going to play high or not, but if the opportunity is there, we're taking it.
And it seems as well, Queasy, that each time you guys get that high ground, you're the one sent down just to wipe the floor, get those eliminations. Thomas holds the high, and it's working really, really well.
I mean, yeah. What is there to say? Like, we just take high and we win. There's nothing else to do. Like, we just need to perfect our mid-game. And if we get into endgame with good match, that's it.
We're looking forward to seeing what happens next. Would you please, one more time, Fort Worth, give it up for Queasy and Thomas HD! That is the way to start a day 2 of FNCS Global Championships 2024. Loads more to come. What's going to happen next? We'll find out after this very short break. We'll see you in a few.
Get high, don't die! Get high, don't die! Come on, man. It's too easy. It's too easy.
Fortnite fam, we got a tournament in our hands, baby! Hey, Lev, take height.
Don't die.
Take height.
Don't die.
Let's go! Game number one on the day, 7 overall. Wheezy, Thomas, HD find the victory royale, and they repeat exactly what they said yesterday. Take height.
Don't die, Levin. Listen, Queasy and Thomas, I mean, the high ground, right? It was working yesterday. They were getting a little bit of pressure, in my opinion, from the likes of Vico and Flixie primarily. But Vico and Flixie go down very, very early on this game. Queasy and Thomas maybe noticed that, right? And was like, listen, we're not going to receive any pressure from them. Because what we noticed, Levin, was that they invested all of their match. So much so that when it came down to this 2v2, they almost had nothing left.
I mean,
Wesh les gars.
have been the biggest players on height in the first 6 games. Vico, Flixie up there, Pupil Boy up there. Both of those guys down and out of this end game. So much space for Queasy and Thomas to play with up on those layers. And it's just really great to see this from them, Vivid, man. This is what I've been wanting to see from them all year. Right? We've always known Queasy to be this dominant high ground IGL. This year, he took a step back from that. When it matters the most, though, relying on what he knows best, playing the high ground.
I just cannot believe it as well. When we kind of saw, I love the way that Queasy kind of commits to that high ground. We kind of look up and it's just cones. As far as the eye can see, most players would just kind of do a few fours, maybe 2 wide. He's just like, nope, this is mine, all of it.
To be fair, there's not many players looking up at it anyway.
Yeah.
But if you did,
Little bit of an interview right there. They saw it happen in the feed. They played their game to it, and now we've got a tournament on our hands.
yeah, absolutely, man. Uncharacteristic game from Pure Bomb Boy. They look like they were working with scraps at times. But with Thomas and Queasy, not at all. Still exactly what we saw from them yesterday, where they're looking strong, in good positions to get surge. Thomas in particular, the Monarch pistol again, it is just relentless, the amount of damage this guy is putting in with that.
That's right, I guess. We actually have a moment from that last game. Let's listen into that game-winning moment.
I'm not gonna.
We should remember their skins. Yeah. They're dashing.
Good on them.
Okay, we know their skins though.
Yeah, Catwoman.
I got a kill.
Disconnected them on the right.
Yeah.
They have dashes to the Catwoman on the right.
Yeah, I see.
Here, chop them, chop.
I'm going. I got a kill. We can get. Going up. Yeah, I see. 100.
30.
Crack.
Dead.
Behind you.
On me.
1 HP.
Dead.
Yeah.
Take height on that.
Absolutely amazing stuff there. Just to see them be excited. Levin, I want to double back. You talk about that Monarch pistol in hand. We joked about it at the start of the day. What kind of damage are we actually putting in with this?
Let's take a look at the numbers. Who do you think is going to be leading with the Monarch pistol? Surprise, no surprise at all. Thomas HD by far and away, just crazy with it. Again, if you know about Thomas HD and met the previous years, it would have been the sniper rifle where you would have probably seen him be the leader. He's replaced the Monarch in that sense and he's doing the big damage with it, and it's a big part of their success this weekend.
Love that from you, Levin. Honestly, I saw a little bit of a shot right there that we were getting on the stage. It was Thomas and Queasy, right? If they actually turn around in their chairs, guess who's right across from them? Peterbot and Polio. They were actually staring each other down.
Wesh, Ellie, comment ça va? Désolé pour le live.
Guess who's right across?
To be honest with it, a bit unfortunate with how that game sort of panned out towards the end. They were doing a good job on some of those mid to low layers.
Enfin,
They get cut
facile.
off, right, on low ground. And usually if you get cut off on low ground, it's possible to reclaim it. The problem was, the team that cut them off used armored walls. But they're pickaxing through armored walls to try to get out of the storm. And again, they just lose too much time. It forces Trulek
Ouais, ça va, Facidu.
to use those medkits earlier than they probably would have wanted to. And that leaves the end of the game. A top 6 ain't bad, but that could have easily...
Oh,
Super
ça
good for them, right? Because coming in of our top
J'ai mis
5
en
teams
ligne.
go down. Those being Vico and Flixie went down early. Again,
J'ai
obviously
mis des
Peterbot
vidéos
and
en
Boyo went
ligne
down
si
early.
tu veux.
But another one
Ouais,
was
bah j'irai
Leacord
voir
and Cole that
plus tard.
also went down early. And I think me and Levin, we noticed something very, very fast that game. They were uncontested. They were contested for all 6 games yesterday. So that big switch up could be affecting things largely.
Those ripples
Il y a moyen que tu
making a
partages le live,
difference here.
s'il
Every
te plaît.
little thing can change an outcome, but it is that time. Game number 8 is being ready for us. So, casters, on over to you. Yeah, it does seem like being uncontested now is starting to work against some of the favorites who are up at the top.
Yeah, and for the teams that are having to essentially switch up their strategies, one thing we were noticing, you pulled up something rather interesting from socials. Swizzy even giving the shout out. I will seriously do my best today. So match number 8, let's see if he's got it.
Game number 8 is here, and there is a lot that we have brewing now here inside the Storm and on the Battle Bus, of course, given that the gap has officially closed. And you saw in the interview just moments ago, Queasy mentioning that, hey, if there's enough space between me and third, we're going to do everything it takes to secure number 1.
And that might be one of the worst things ever if you're Peterbot and Boyo. You almost have to try and block it out, but how much can you really ignore when you see the gap chopped so viciously after a singular match because of that 1.5 times point multiplier? But drawing that conversation back to that little note that Vivid had touched on, teams that were contesting each other, they might have gotten very accustomed to having consistent damage. I think Acorn and Cold specifically,
Yes.
they were so directly in control of Riddle, Beachhead, Andelix, and Sato. They tried their best, but they realized this is not going to work out. We've got to completely revamp our strategy for day 2. And now it's up to Acorn and Cole to figure out a new game plan on the fly.
Talking about that, even Huddy and Kovacs now have seemingly
Perfect.
demanded
Merci,
their respect
Ellie.
from Stroll and Sky, who have given up the Rebels. Roost already moving out. Likely that they had a
Merci,
bad
qui est le
drop
sang.
here, and these small micro changes will absolutely create domino effects. So what we're looking at, 7th place now.
Là,
It
c'est une
doesn't have as many
compétition
teams there.
Fortnite en live.
We already
C'est
know
les
Vino and
FNCS
Clicks had a
Championship.
little bit of a different situation unfolding at their drop. Peterbot and Boyo had a team move out, right? All of these teams now have to make adjustments.
But Venom moving in quickly towards that launch pad. It's evident with the forecast tower in sight. There's going to be a brawl stemming out of Sandy Steps, but also drawing in the attention of teams surrounding this southern section of the map.
Look at this.
Stored Reels definitely getting active.
Power Alex, Power Worthy continuing to
Il reste un
perform
HP.
very well on the drop.
En face, il reste un
That
HP.
mid game, they can tighten things up, possibly leave the reels faster. They'll be better off. Angles
Wesh,
looking
les gars,
good
on
here.
est
All
2
shield
sur le
bubbles
live.
expended, but look
Ça
at the
fait
distance.
plaisir.
There is, of course, more players coming
Sachant
in.
que ça fait longtemps que j'ai pas live.
Love this snap fly adjustment out of Cooper and Kanata, though. They recognize, hey, we had issues with Surge. What better way than to try and third-party teams that won't be expecting it? Alex and Worthy, they're still trying to chase down Merstash.
No.
Find the second elimination. Malabuka and Merstash fall yet again to Oshi, but now Kanata, Cooper, they're not going to let them
Début de game,
relish in
ça.
the moment for even a second. Kanata immediately breathing down the neck of Alex.
Il a
He's
fait
trying
que
to get
des
a scramble
orthos.
out, but he hasn't had a chance to regenerate anything. He's just hoping that his teammate
système de
can try
tir.
to provide some relief. But Kanata
Et
and
ils l'ont
Cooper,
tué.
they finally find Alex, and that's going to be the end of one half of the Oshi Power Boys.
And you can see Alex's only concern there was, let me buy time for my teammate to get out. We can still play this game. So Worthy looking to secure as much loot as possible and then rotate out. Meanwhile, seems like EU's Chap and Teeny here are going against NA Pars and Baka. So far, so good for Pars and Baka, who have a defensive hold inside the factory, but Teeny and Chap likely feeling like it's a little dangerous to step in now.
Désolé si je parle pas
They're going to
tout
take
le
what
temps.
they can and move on out, it
Lui là,
seems.
il a un bon stuff, Chap.
Teeny possibly reverting back to his old ways. This chap next to him seems like they want to look to try and apply some pressure to any teams that might be looking for some easy fishing strats over by the dock next to the shipping station. Yapko and Swizzy on the other hand, popping off at the raft. They're going to manage to find threats in the process. And this triple contest situation just continues to heat up, but this is a very different Brutal Beachhead vision
That's cool.
in comparison to what we've
Je connais
been
pas.
used to
En
seeing.
Dilex.
Yeah, we got
Genre
Cal
Dilex,
Gamer
c'est
Hamon
comme
here now.
ça.
Up against
C'est même pas
Andilex
ça.
and Sato. Nicely done for Hamon. Finding Sato with a big elimination here. Now Cal
Pas
Gamer has to
drôle,
win
je
his
connais
ones.
pas du tout.
Going toe-to-toe for the shot there. Andilex extremely weak, but instead calls in the backup and beautifully done
Oh.
as Hamon finishes the deal here for Middle East. And they're going to find themselves a wonderful set of eliminations. Now the drop is theirs. No Acorn and Cold. So clearly a rotate must have happened and a
Yeah.
lot sooner.
Un duo avec je ne sais
They're
pas
not the
qui.
only ones countering
Je pense que ça
some
doit être,
slight
je
adjustments
pense pas
to
que ce soit Vico.
path and rotation strategies early on. Vico, Blixie next to Booga and Aviv, but at the same time, some damage was clearly applied. Whether that came from Booga and Aviv, didn't necessarily get the chance to see, but Vico and
N'hésitez pas à
Blixie are
parler
now
dans le
inside
chat,
of the
les gars.
cemetery, and
Ça fait
there's a
toujours plaisir.
very high likelihood that they're just looking and waiting for the opportunity to make a play for the weapons bunker nearby.
A little quick highlight here as we walk away. Unfortunately, King and Phaser gonna be some of the duos caught out. Old risky play walking into a building and a team sitting in the attic. What can you do?
It's almost like how we saw Huddy and Kovacs sitting inside of a bush in match 7. I think a lot of these players, again, you don't really want to get messy. You don't want to cut any corners. You've got to make sure that you are checking every angle, proceeding with caution every step of the way. Otherwise, you might just find yourself off guard. Parades completely exposed. Huddy had the overhead view, but didn't manage to connect the shots.
Still like this angle here. Plenty of gas in the tank here for Huddy. As he slides out, Visual and Braids put up a great fight.
Ça pique
So far, Huddy opening the distance here, still keeping tabs on the opponent, making sure the teammate doesn't find too much of an angle on him. And then you have in the bush, in the distance, in the base, Buzz and Epic Whale just listening ever so closely. Meanwhile, Peterbot and Pollo making up for match number 7 here in match 8. Trying to farm and fish for tags, right? This is their biggest problem in match number 7. Now that they're uncontested, basically didn't get to get those early fights, right? Things have gone a little bit differently for them. It's becoming a lot more difficult.
Also same for Clicks and Vena, though. They've seemingly been surrounded. We knew that there was going to be a lot of foot traffic coming through this area based off the forecast tower spawn, but with Peterbot and Pollo seemingly in full control of that, Clicks, Veno, they're now going to have to choose a new method to try and establish some surge tag damage. And again, with Storm closing in on their backs, they could take their time. They could still potentially loop back around, hit the vending machine that they're familiar with, if that's still standing.
Bino looking to see if he can find any tags anywhere. Meanwhile, Chicho and Trulex, they've been putting on a performance worth studying. You have to start to wonder now, what is it about their drop spot, their mid-game, their early game that they've been able to do so well that they've continued to make end game and then perform at the highest caliber? now being one of the teams in the race here for the first place.
Oh, le son, il a du délai.
They still have to keep it up. They've still been contested, although the team that's there has given them a little bit of room to work with.
Baka. C'est quoi ce nom?
C'est bon. Comment ils ont vu?
They're not.
D'accord.
Ils full semblant, ils ont un stuff de fou là. Ils sont imbattables.
However, if they stick around too much longer, I mean.
Les gars, le live il bug. J'en suis désolé.
Only trouble is waiting for them.
Et bah, je vous annonce que ça va être la fin des joueurs en dessous puisqu'ils ont aucun soin blanc. Ah si, j'ai rien dit, ils viennent de 100 mètres.
Est-ce qu'il y a des cups où la visu de bruitage d'interdite? Non, tu peux tout le temps l'utiliser vu que c'est une option dans le jeu comme les grips. C'est officiel, c'est légal.
Par contre, ce qui a été rendu illégal, c'est d'avoir mon aim. Et du coup, ils m'ont interdit de participer au cup.
J'ai eu l'info de Enzo, des armes en or, des armes violettes.
Il y a Andy.
En ce moment, c'était.
Of regions and competition come together now.
Ouais, c'est clair qu'ils préfèrent te montrer tout le temps les mêmes. Tout le temps les mêmes. Après, les gars, on se plaint qu'on voit pas Vox, mais il y a plein d'autres joueurs qu'on voit pas. Hein.
Bah, c'est pour te dire, à la game d'avant, il y a 2 joueurs que j'ai découverts, je les connaissais même pas.
C'est tellement dommage. Alors, oui, je comprends. Je comprends que c'est la merde, mais voilà. D'ailleurs, on me dit que Vox, normalement, il serait potentiellement encore en Northzone parce qu'ils ont pris les bunkers des enfers.
Ah, si c'est ça, c'est super.
Donc ça fait une grosse game pour eux s'ils sont bien staff. Hein.
Polo et Peterbot qui sont en fight face à Sweezy et son mate Japko. Pour rappel, Japko et Sweezy qui ont fait un gros top 1 hier, donc ils sont très très bons.
Il y a déjà eu ce fight hier, mais c'était en top 2. Et Sweezy a 1v2 Peterbot et Polo. Voilà, je pense qu'ils vont se tailler. Il prend les petits dashs. Et ça se taille.
Purée, mais mec, apparemment Ping a fait un kill là, ça me harcèle vraiment, j'ai jamais vu ça dans le chat.
Ah ouais, Ping kill, ouais, moi aussi. Nickel,
Ah oui,
ça, Ping qui fait un kill.
Il a tué le Kwakubaka, ça c'est fait, dehors.
Ah, désolé, j'ai des gros soucis de connexion, c'est un peu, j'essaie de régler là en même temps.
Ouais, t'inquiète.
Pas pour parler quand t'arrives pas, t'inquiète.
T'as dit quoi?
Non, je dis pas de pas parler. Hein.
Ok.
Franchement,
j'avais bien entendu en fait.
Ouais, t'as bien compris, ouais. Et il a tué Baka, les gars.
Polo qui meurt de la zone.
Il l'a tué. Et oui, Polo qui meurt de la zone. Peter Pot qui va devoir. Peter Pot, j'ai dit. Peter Pan qui va devoir le. Wesh.
Peter Pan, non là t'as fait exprès, là t'as fait exprès.
J'ai pas fait exprès. C'est Peter Pot qui va.
Sky Scroll qui les backstab. Il a pas le temps de le réa. Il a pas le temps de le réa. Oh non, il s'est enfermé sans son mate.
Ah, ils sont enfermés sans Polo.
L'erreur fatale. L'erreur fatale du côté de Peterbot, malheureusement c'est peut-être la fin pour lui. C'est super en fait, heureusement. Alexa, lance Naps, la kiffance.
Comment il
Oh,
les a
il
full
box.
box?
Non,
il est trop fort.
Non, s'il s'il a un V2, les gars, c'est bon. S'il a un V2, je vous propose qu'on l'appelle tous Oise ce soir.
Il est monstrueux. Il est monstrueux.
Comment il a pu se sortir de cette situation, gros?
Son cerveau, il va à 500 à l'heure, je comprends même pas ce qu'il fait. Regarde, regarde, regarde.
Mais wesh.
What the
Le problème, c'est
fuck.
qu'il a plus de semblant.
Je de mes vidéos YouTube, là, je comprends pas. J'ai vraiment l'impression de me voir, là. Oh.
Ah non, malheureusement. Non, c'est fini pour lui. C'est fini. Il a des bandages. Il a plus de
Hier,
maths.
on vous l'a dit, hein.
Et il est mort.
Non.
Peter Bot, ils se font bien, Baxter
Dommage.
dit qu'il peut leur arriver des dingueries. Et les premiers qui meurent une deuxième fois sans faire de points, ou très peu du moins.
Ça faisait longtemps qu'un joueur m'a pas aussi impressionné que lui.
Nickel. Allez, maintenant, faut juste espérer que Thomas HD, QC et Troulex et Chico prennent pas de points. Et là, ça serait exceptionnel.
Quasi.
On sait que Vox est dans la game,
Quasi,
qu'il est bien,
je
il a un
connaissais
excellent
pas du
stuff.
tout.
Ah, regardez le backstab en fait là.
Tellement de chance du côté de Kazi là de one shot Peter Bot de récupérer le médaillon et le kill.
Alors ici, on voit pas nos cracks. Lille, normalement, c'était toujours un endroit où il y avait Peter Bot, pas aujourd'hui.
Bah là, non, ils peuvent pas. Hein.
Vox est toujours vivant le chat, ceux qui demandent.
On voit jamais Vox, ouais, c'est clair. On espère le voir un peu plus en fin de zone. Actuellement, top 33. Les places payantes, c'est le top 25, on le sait. Donc on attend impatiemment que leur compteur de points se débloque. Il s'est déjà débloqué avec un +6 quand Ping a fait un kill sur Baka. Mais il faut que ça continue. Hein.
Les gars, je suis persuadé qu'il y a vraiment une très grosse importance du spawn dans le sens où Thomas HD et Queasy ne sont jamais contestes. Ils ont à chaque fois un stuff de fou furieux. Ils sont trop bien en termes de soins blancs et à chaque fois ils ont un très bon positionnement parce qu'ils sont très peu joués. Donc je trouve qu'en tout cas les games de Queasy et Thomas sont beaucoup plus simples à jouer que celles de Peter Bot qui spawn milieu de zone au raft. C'est compliqué. Hein.
Et en plus de ça, ils sont ultra efficaces quant aux dégâts de Storm parce que le souci avec un spawn uncon, c'est que bah, tu mets pas de dégâts directement d'entrée de jeu. Quoi.
C'est sûr.
Il faut être ultra efficace après. Mais bon, ils le sont donc.
Wesh les gars sur le chat.
Combien de points du côté de Vox? Pour l'instant 164 et là il va commencer à marquer des points de top d'ici 5 minutes, même pas.
Wesh Big Z, comment ça va?
33 teams.
Wesh Big Z. Mais non.
Chico, qui va réussir à mettre une grosse balle. On voit vraiment en niveau pro, ce pistolet il est utilisé par littéralement tout le monde.
Ouais, c'est sûr. Ça touche.
C'est trop cool les gars, votre soutien pour Vox. Vraiment, ça le. Comme on vous l'a dit tout à l'heure, ça le touche beaucoup et ça motive beaucoup. On les voit là-bas à gauche. Vox, Vox et Ping, ils sont dans la box en briques. Ils sont bien, ils étaient full shield, c'était bien.
Bah, tu vois, typiquement là, ce qu'ils sont en train de faire, c'est quelque chose que tu peux pas faire en tant que manette parce que t'as 0 aim assist. Donc si tu viens de faire jouer alors qu'il y a le bush, t'es foutu. Ah, ils se font spam.
Attendez les gars, juste vite fait.
Effectivement. Un problème à ce niveau-là.
Ils ont une bonne synergie de duo. Voilà, il faut qu'ils taillent.
T'es mal Discord.
Oh là là, Troulex de HP.
Attendez.
Et en plus, il est loin de la zone, faut qu'il fasse très attention.
Et il y a la Storm qui va
C'est moi je
commencer.
suis là-bas.
Alors on espère que ça se passe bien pour Vox. Est-ce qu'il est là? Non, on le voit pas là.
Ouais.
J'espère qu'ils ont assez de dégâts pour la Storm. Ils ont fait un kill, je sais pas si ça va suffire.
Alors c'est toi Grims qui disais que prendre des failles comme ça c'était très risqué.
T'es de là-bas de où, y a Big Z?
Après, regarde. Les derniers ils vont vraiment prendre cher parce que tout le monde sera setup déjà.
Tu te rappelles du clip qu'il y avait eu, je crois que c'était au chapitre 2, il y avait eu une grosse cup comme ça, et t'avais un mec qui avait été reset au bus, et t'avais littéralement toute la map qui lui avait tiré dessus.
Oui. Bah ça arrive quand
mythique ce clip en même temps.
Il y a tout le monde content, tout le monde qui est focus, ils se disent que c'est
des points free,
des points, donc...
Perso du 78.
Bouya top 10 d'ailleurs,
Pas
on
loin
précise
de
pas assez, mais il fait un très très bon boulot.
Wox qui vient de faire un kill sur...
Ah oui, nickel, il a pu l'achever, ça
Ah,
c'est
moi
bien
je
pour
suis
l'instant.
anti-78.
J'aimerais bien les voir si ça les a mis dans la merde, s'ils sont toujours bien. Mais là, encore une fois, on voit pas Wox, hein, même malgré le fait qu'ils font des kills, ils ont déjà fait quasiment 20 kills dans tout le tournoi, on n'a pas vu un fight.
Ouais, Balls qui prend la Storm. Ça va être compliqué pour lui. Ah, là, il y a 2 teams qui prennent la Storm.
Ça vient pour se soigner là.
Perso du 78.
Ça va être dur. Hein.
Pas
Soka
loin de
40
frappe.
au-dessous, pardon, en dessous.
Wox fait ce qu'il est.
En fait, j'ai pas compris les Big Z.
Non plus.
Allez les gars, notre poulain c'est bien.
Ah, c'est frustrant, ils sont à 12 en dessous, ils sont en train de se prendre v'là les dégâts. Ping qui fait un kill sur Kasperinovic.
Nickel ça. Allez les gars, c'est la game, on déroule. Faut que ça continue.
Les gars, n'hésitez pas à parler dans le chat.
Ils nous ont donné l'info, ils sont trop bien. Donc là, ils doivent juste se focus sur
Même
le
si
Honda,
vous
ils
avez
doivent
rien
mettre
à
des dégâts
dire,
de plus.
c'est pas
C'est bien
grave.
les gars, allez le chat. Là c'est le moment d'envoyer de la force, de bombarder. C'est peut-être la game qu'on attend pour lancer cette deuxième journée pour nous.
Et surtout les points de top qui vont commencer à tomber là dès maintenant. Et Ping, on le voit en haut à gauche ici, ils sont très très bien positionnés, plein milieu de zone, ils ont le high.
C'est ça, ils sont dans la zone. Ils ont de la vie, allez le chat.
Ils sont bien.
Maintenant faut que ça continue.
Je suis 10-78.
Ce qui est lourd, c'est qu'on sait que Peter
Pas
Butt,
loin
il est
de
mort.
trappe. Ah d'accord,
Regarde,
c'est du 78, c'est Big Z, j'avais pas compris comme ça.
Ils ont pas le high
Wox et Ping. Ouais, mais c'est pas grave.
de mid-ground au
Ils sont en zone
Queasy.
déjà.
Mais anti-78, c'est
Il faut qu'ils se fassent laser en fait. Au bout d'un moment, ça y est.
anti-TK.
Là, il est top 1 de la cup quasiment. Il faut qu'ils prennent des dégâts, c'est pas possible.
Waouh, encore
Et là,
Queasy,
ils vont
Thomas
rejeter
qui prennent le
l'auteur,
high.
je crois. Bah, ils savent très bien. Oh, ils se font tirer dessus par Wox. C'est bien ça, mon poulain, ça.
C'est encore tôt pour savoir qui va jouer le high ou non, enfin qui va l'avoir vraiment.
Ouais, mais en tout cas, eux, même de ce qu'ils disent en interview, ils vont jouer pour le high. Et j'ai l'impression en fait que les joueurs ont peur de jouer le high. Et du coup, eux, s'ils osent,
c'est un risque,
paye, tu vois.
C'est un risque, clairement.
Ah
Alors
ok.
lui, Epic, il a pris une balle Epic.
Mais t'inquiète, hein. Les gens du 78, je les déteste pas, hein. C'est juste...
Allez, là, il n'y a aucune équipe qui veut mourir. Top 25, c'est bon. Epic qui vient de mourir.
Là, il commence à débloquer
Moi,
le
je dois
3
réviser
points
mon
chaque
live.
top, c'est cool.
Bon bah vas-y, à plus, Big Z.
C'est super. Tombe. Ah, Kovacs qui prennent la Storm pour 14 HP.
Ouais,
C'est
ça
dur.
va le même mal, hein.
C'est dur. Vas-y, faut qu'ils mettent une balle dans les fesses. Voilà, c'est fait 16. Ils sont à 2 au-dessus. Ça passe. Oh, ça passe largement même parce qu'ils down
Ah
Kadou.
oui, oh lolo.
Oh, le laser.
Gros laser ça. Hein.
C'est le moment de rota.
Là ça va être une rota meurtrière, hein.
C'est ça.
Clairement.
Il faut que ça se passe bien pour notre petit Wox. Et après, il sera officiellement late game. Il aura fait j'ai envie de dire le plus compliqué, même si tout est compliqué dans ce genre de game. Mais il
Déjà
sera
top
arrivé
22.
Les gars,
là
c'est
où il peut arriver,
singerie.
c'est-à-dire en late game et après faire. C'est ça. Là, les gars, tant qu'on le voit pas dans la feed, c'est une bonne nouvelle. Hein. Ah, Chico qui tombe, c'est nickel. Troulex qui va être solo. Troulex qui est 3ème de la cup, hein, regardez.
Allez, Wox.
Ça, c'est vraiment bien, Simmer.
C'est le moment
Allez,
jamais.
Wox, allez, Ping. Allez, le chat.
Vote top 1 pour vous. J'ai trop envie qu'ils fassent top 1 pour qu'ils soient interviewés et qu'on voit encore le maillot.
Ça, c'est une dinguerie, c'est que top 1 par contre.
Wox, il fait un kill sur Victor. Let's go.
Voilà. Allez, un kill de plus. Ils sont en forme, là. Déjà 4 éliminations pour eux dans cette deuxième game d'aujourd'hui. Où est-ce qu'on les voit?
Et Troulex qui tombe, c'est super ça. Super.
Troulex qui tombe, c'est nickel. Allez, maintenant, il faut éviter que ce soit Thomas HD qui est la hauteur parce que là, ils viennent de passer premier au classement.
Ouais.
On les voit pas, je sais pas où ils sont.
Non, si, je les ai vus ici.
Ah oui, gauche.
Full gauche, ouais.
Vous êtes en train de monter, regardez là.
On les voit à droite, ils sont full.
HVK Vox et Pingwa, ils sont full. Allez, les gars.
City et Camille, ils ont un high de fou.
Imaginez, ils tuent les premiers, c'est très bien. Ouais, City et Camille, pareil, j'ai l'impression que City et Camille et Thomas et QC, c'est des joueurs expérimentés qui ont pas peur de jouer la hauteur, on l'a déjà vu hier. Ça fait
Aïe.
sur la scène, ils savent que c'est fort.
Ping s'est fait accepter.
Ouais, mais il a pas pris de dégâts, je crois. Pour l'instant, c'est bien top 16. Ils font un maximum de points dans cette game. Hein. Il faut que ça continue. C'est à partir du top 5 que les points vont vraiment bien payer en termes de top. Voilà, ça continue nickel. Dans le feed, on le voit pas.
Wow, il fait double kill.
Double.
Donc ça fait 12 points en
Deux
plus.
knocks, non, deux knocks encore. Pas
C'est fini. Ah, il est mort. Il est mort.
Non, il est mort.
il vient de mourir. Mais il y a encore 2 kills encore.
Ouais,
Il y a
il a
encore
fait
2
2
kills.
kills. Il faut
Faut
juste
que
que son
Ping
deuxième kill
tempo.
soit achevé et que Ping réussisse à temporiser. Allez, il a fait le taf. Maintenant, c'est à Ping de jouer, de gratter un maximum de points de top. On rappelle que les kills, c'est 6 points aujourd'hui. C'est exceptionnel, les gars.
Wox, qui vient de faire un kill de la zone.
Ouais, il vient d'achever, ouais. Il vient
Ah,
d'achever,
il
c'est
a
bon.
fait.
Allez, maintenant, c'est Ping qui est en situation de clutch. Il faut qu'il survive, il faut qu'il gratte des tops.
On le voit, il est au milieu, mais par contre, il est très low. 50 HP.
Ouais.
Aïe.
Il vient de mourir.
Et il est mort.
Il vient de mourir.
Top 11.
Il est mort. C'est une grosse game, les gars.
81 points la game.
Let's go.
Vraiment, c'est énorme.
Donc
C'est
il
énorme,
passe.
les gars. Franchement, c'est une grosse game. Ils ont fait un carnage en termes de kills. Et on sait que les kills, c'est super important aujourd'hui.
Ils sont à 243 points. 243.
Bien monter.
C'est cool.
Ils vont faire un gros bump au classement. Là. On regardera le classement ensemble, ne vous spoilez pas.
Oui. On va juste voir qui va remporter cette game. Il faudrait
Mais je pense
que...
qu'ils vont remonter dans le top. Je pronostique qu'ils vont remonter dans le top 13, je pense.
Ouais, top 15, je dis. Il faudrait que Thomas HD et Quizzy meurent très rapidement parce que là... Attendez les gars, 2 secondes. Au niveau du live, je dois régler un truc. Thomas HD et Quizzy meurent très rapidement parce que là, ils sont en train de prendre une avance fulgurante. Presque 500 points au compteur. Entre Seti et Camille, ça va être un beau fight. Les lunettes motocross anti-UV, je pense que je vais faire un...
En bas, c'est pissé, Janice.
Ouais, c'est des gros joueurs.
Le dieu de Ping, enfin, le dieu de Hawk, c'est Ping, pardon. Hawk n'est pas français, il est suédois.
Aïe, plus beaucoup de matériaux du côté de Janice et Pixie qui sont très low. Voilà, Camille et Seti, c'est...
Qui va faire top 1 sur cette game.
Pour qu'il remporte cette deuxième partie.
C'est une dinguerie quand même pour ces types se dire qu'ils jouent pour Manchester City, genre pour un des plus grands clubs de foot du monde. C'est
Pixie qui meurt.
Et Janice qui va le rejoindre normalement.
Et Janice,
il n'y a pas de
tombe
dinguerie.
Et le top 1 par
c'est bien joué,
City.
franchement bravo à eux.
Ils ont contrôlé le hauteur, ils sont montés en premier tout en haut de la montagne et ils ont déroulé.
C'est qui,
Mais
Nice.
franchement, c'est une grosse game.
Qu'on passe les 21 000 specs sur le live.
Non.
T'as un lieu qui arrive.
Tellement de
Les gars, regardez. Je prends.
N'hésitez pas à vous abonner, on est 21 000. Votre petit nom s'affichera à droite avec un bus Fortnite. Let's go. On va faire le petite traduction.
6ème pour Hawk, c'est Ping.
Ils sont 10e.
de fou en game.
Attends, je vais montrer aux abonnés.
Regardez, ils sont 10ème, ils ont fait une game à plus de 80 points. Ils refont une game comme ça, ils s'approchent du top 5. Hein. Voilà,
Là,
les gars.
maintenant, tout est une question de régularité.
C'est ça, il reste 4 games. Hein. 4 games, c'est énorme. En 4 games, tu peux prendre vraiment beaucoup de points. C'est exceptionnel ce qu'ils font là.
Alternative. Effectivement, ils sont 10e.
Bravo,
Ils ont fait un top
Crooks.
1 6 kills.
Let's
Un top
go,
1 6
ça.
kills.
Oh, let's go.
Super.
Incroyable.
Avec
Allez, on continue la
Awood.
remontée, on vous rappelle qu'il y a à peine
10e au
4 games de
classement.
ça. Ils étaient 44e. Hein. Ils ont fait de 44e à 10e. Et c'est pas fini.
Hop, je remets la scène de cast.
Cette game, elle va nous permettre de rêver, ça c'est bien.
Attendez, hop. Voilà. Là, il le dit, avec des games comme ça, tu serais capable de prendre le trophée. Qu'est-ce que vous allez faire après?
Le chat, on va vous renvoyer le lien du Discord, Zed va faire pareil.
Ouais.
N'hésitez pas à rejoindre le Discord de Above, les gars. Il y a plein de belles choses qui arrivent dedans, vous allez kiffer. Donc soyez là, on vous l'envoie, rejoignez-le, comme ça c'est fait, vous juste à cliquer sur le lien.
Wesh les gars, sur le live. N'hésitez pas à parler dans le chat.
Attendez, le live est stuck sur le live chat. Je sais pas pourquoi.
Il reste encore 4 parties. Bon, là ça va être la prochaine game.
Le petit break.
Les gars, on va aller voir
Habituel.
un petit truc ici. Compétition, tac.
Et 2 minutes avant la prochaine partie. Super.
Voilà. Hop. Session alternative. Ils sont là, les gars. HVK Vox. Ils sont là.
145 points.
C'est des monstres.
Regardez, ça c'est les stats de son compte FNCS. C'est un compte qu'ils ont créé pour ça. Et sinon dans la session, donc juste dans cette session, ils sont top 18. Créé pour ça. Son compte FNCS, c'est un compte qu'ils ont créé pour ça. Et sinon dans la session, donc juste dans cette session, ils sont top 18.
C'est interminable.
Cette session, ils sont top 18.
C'est interminable.
Donc juste dans cette session, ils sont top 18. Mais bon, le plus important c'est le classement alternatif, c'est-à-dire le classement des... Ah ok, oui, faut que je te dise ici. Head ping, historique des
Dès que
parties.
tu guettes pas sur le site compétitif Fortnite, en plus il y a des trucs à gagner.
Les gars, on va aller voir son clutch, on va lui faire regarder son clutch. C'est chaud.
DM,
Le moment où il a enchaîné des kills de fou.
sont des monstres feu.
Ça c'est fou quand même, il a enchaîné 3 qui...
Semco, c'est super gentil, mec. Juste pour ce soir, vu que c'est la World Cup de Wox, je vais rester avec Waz et Grims, comme ça on peut cast à 3. Si tu veux, on fera le cast demain ensemble de la finale solo. Là, ce soir, en fait, on essaie vraiment de pas spam la vocale parce que, étant donné qu'il y a beaucoup de monde, je sais que c'est pas toi qui vas spam, mais je pense que tu comprends ce que je veux dire, le boss. On fera le cast demain ensemble. Même du côté de Waz, personne vient, comme ça au moins on reste vraiment à 3 chill avec Grims.
Oui, Ping il avait... Ah oui, Ping il était vraiment bien, il avait le Scar en or, pompe 3 balles bleues, pas mal de heal. Wox ça va aussi. Ils avaient des bons blindés, c'est intéressant. On va regarder les kills de notre pépite.
Et Semco, n'hésite pas quand tu m'envoies un message, envoie un message sur le tel. Hein. Là, je suis en train de voir le fight de Ping.
Ah voilà, je regarde Wox. Bon là les gars, c'est normal, si vous le voyez pas viser, c'est un bug du mode replay. Hein. Il doute qu'il vise là.
Oh, le beau kill qu'il a pris.
Donc là ça joue bien ensemble, c'est cool.
On va aller voir après.
Franchement, cette game, ça va les mettre en confiance. Hein. Ah oui, le spray dans le cône avec Ping. Ah, ça, c'est super ce qu'ils ont fait là. On avance dans la zone mouvante.
Ah, ils ont chopé Kasperinovic en les ramassant. Ils étaient bien ici. Je vais regarder comment ils sont morts.
Qu'est-ce qui s'est passé? Donc là, ils avaient récupéré...
Merci beaucoup, Eni. Bonsoir, comment tu vas? Merci, Songe. Bon anniversaire à Songe et merci, Arcane. Non, je l'ai pas lu, Arcane, je regarde après le live, mec. Depuis hier, j'ai rien fait. Enfin, j'ai rien fait. J'ai fait que m'occuper de la vote, etc. Donc, ok, malheureusement, Pink qui est mort parce qu'il n'avait plus aucun matériau. Mais je m'occupe de regarder ça ce soir. Ça va, Socheta? J'ai juste envie de revoir comment il est mort. Ouais, il pouvait rien faire. Il pouvait rien faire, malheureusement. Venez, on fait un truc, les gars, avant que la game reprenne. La game reprend quand? Dans quelques minutes, là. Venez à 20h15, tout pile, dans 1 minute, même pas. Tout le monde s'abonne. On est 17 minutes sur le stream, je pense qu'on peut passer les 1 720 000. Dans 1 minute. On a la pop de Janice juste là. J'aime beaucoup le camo de Pixie. Il est marrant, c'est un lama. C'est quoi son camo? Ok, pas mal. Je vais faire un petit 1v1 pour ceux qui sont intéressés en attendant que le cast reprenne. Luffy, calmos. 20h15 dans 30 secondes. Ça commence. Non, je l'ai à côté, ça commence pas pour l'instant. Ça commence dans 5 minutes. J'ai 6 minutes tout pile pour vous faire des petits 1v1. Je vous remets un timer, 6 minutes. Ouais, je fais des 1v1 pendant 5 minutes.
Ouais, moi aussi, t'inquiète.
Nickel. Hop, on va mettre un peu de musique, comme ça on sera mieux. Et il est 20h15. Dans 5 secondes. Voilà, on va faire ça. Allô? Allô? Tu m'entends? Allô? Salut. Jack. Ça va bien? Allô, Jack, tu m'entends? Vas-y, fais ça si tu m'entends. Ok, c'est bon, vas-y, go. C'est quoi, on fait un 1v1 et le premier qui gagne, Qu'est-ce que vous êtes en train de faire avec le compteur? Attendez. Oh, ça monte de fou! Attends, je fais un truc, Jacques. Le compteur qui monte. Viens, j'ai fait de la pâtée avant qu'on passe les 1 720 000. Il est où? J'ai plus de balles. Oh mon aim. Mais c'est fait. Bien joué mec. Vas-y let's go. 1-0. Ah j'arrive pas à faire cet edit. C'est fait. Pourquoi ça part reset? Je me suis dit que j'allais tuer avec la deuxième balle. Bien joué mec. 2-1. Bien joué. Écoute Jack, je vais changer d'abonné. A bientôt mec, salut. Hop. Les gars, commencez même pas avec Maxime. Hein. Maxime, pourquoi tu forces le chat comme ça? Ça a repris. Non. Ça recommence dans 3 minutes. Ajoute-le. Non, la règle, c'est le premier à 3. S'il me met 3-2, 3-1, 3-1, 3-0, bien sûr, je l'ajoute. Of course. Je vais juste remettre Fortnite, voilà. Merci Songe. Songe, comme je l'explique très souvent, je suis persuadé que tu vas comprendre. J'accepte pas les demandes d'amis en échange de dons. Déjà que ce soit techniquement ou moralement, c'est compliqué. Techniquement parce que je peux pas jouer.